Let me take you on a journey through time to when humans learned to use tools, learned to write, learned about their gods, learned to sacrifice their gods, perfected the arts of war and politics. These were some of the lightbulb moments in human history.
Scott, delighted to be having a second chat with you. Yourself and Steve Evans
G'day,
here.
Terry.
G'day.
Hi once
Terry.
again,
Steve.
Scott.
How you doing?
Good to catch you at this early hour. Well, early hour for you in Australia, of course, Sydney. We're at 7:15 at night, and you're at silly o'clock in the morning.
A 5:45 in the morning, yeah.
Wow, that's early. Anyway, how's Sydney this morning? Is it looking sunny or is it?
It's dark as. Here. Absolutely pitch black.
Of course it is. What a silly question.
Well, it's also daylight saving, so it probably would be getting light normally, but because of daylight saving, it's dark as anything.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's a good job you're an early riser anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh dear. So we're going to talk about light bulb moments in history, but before we get round to that, just remind us again, I can't remember if we asked this last time, what do you do to relax between writing books and everything else you do?
Oh, what do I do to relax? I watch a bit of telly. I'm a full-time teacher, and I found time to write 2 books in the last 2.5 years. So I guess there's not a whole lot of relaxation, but I find writing books kind of relaxing, and a lot of the process for me is that's not all work. So it's actually part of my R&R.
Oh, excellent. Lightbulb Moments in History has just been published. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes,
brilliant.
I've been talking about it for over a year. I think it was accepted for publication back in late January last year, and so I've been talking about it, and like I've been, because these days the publishers want you to get out there and push it as early and as long as possible. So I literally been talking about this book that hasn't existed for anybody but me for a year. So to have it out there, it almost doesn't seem real, because to me it's been, I've had a copy in my hands for over 6 months, but the world hasn't. So yeah, it's good to have it out there.
I know you sent me an advance copy, which I really enjoyed. Now I think I put a review on Goodreads, a pre-order review. I'll do the same on Amazon as well. Put a review on there.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. I'll do the launch go.
Well, the launch, I didn't really do a proper book launch where you have a dinner and all that kind of stuff. I kind of felt that was a bit old school, and I the money that would have gone into that, which I might have sold a few books to my friends, which I'll probably sell anyway or not, depending as the case may be. I put that into ads and things. So really, publication night for me, I came home and had a beer and watched telly. Massive celebration.
Isn't that what you do on a normal day?
Pretty much.
Terry's got me at a slight advantage. He's read your book, your first one, and I still haven't. I'm
bloody slacker.
I'm ashamed.
What's your excuse, mate?
I haven't got one.
Can you read?
I can read it. It's on my list of so many books to read.
Both of us got a huge list.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not like Terry. See, Terry can dip in and out of 3-4 books at the same time. I struggle. If I get one, I can just about keep up with the plot in that.
No.
2 on the go at once. I get confused. So I end up with a list of books, but it's, oh dear. I'll get there eventually.
I think my book's the kind of book you can dip in and out of. It's not, you're going to have to, it's not, because it's not a novel for a start, so you don't have to have the thread of the story. It's you can read little bits here and there, and I mean, I don't recommend you read it that way, but hey, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, as Terry said, it's not the sort of history you learned at school, Terry. Is that right?
That's right. It's the history that I wanted to learn at school.
Yeah.
I think it's a great premise for a television show, like the horrid histories, those type of things. It's sort of humorous look, but it's serious, very serious subjects as well. But it just makes it takes the dullness out of history. Traditional history teaching, unless you had a brilliant teacher, is a matter of facts and dates and recounting those dates. But the way Scott writes it's just so readable. It's you just sort of, it's not an effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that was the plan. I'm glad that's the effect it's had on you. It was certainly my idea. I mean, when you mention horrible histories, when I describe it, my elevator pitch is horrible histories for adults, because it's that kind of feel, a bit less comedic. I mean, it has comedy, but it's a bit less sort of sketch comedy and more history. But it's that kind of thing where you pick the sort of bits that are a bit amusing, a bit interesting, and play them up a little bit. But it's not by any stretch of the imagination the kind of thing that's it's not making light of history, but it's pointing out the parts of history which are funny as well.
Ever since the dawn of time, humankind has been on a path. We emerged from the cave and began to learn. We learned to write. We learned to build. We learned about our gods. We also did some stupid shit, like sacrificing people, sacrificing our children, and finally, sacrificing our god. Lightbulb Moments in Human History tracks humanity's big ideas and the eccentricities of those who conceive them. It's available now at all good bookstores, and it's not the history you were taught in school.
But it also has like a serious aspect of it. I am trying to show, like, one of my things was a lot of people, and this started during the pandemic. A lot of people I was talking to were saying, "Oh, the world's gone to shit. You know, things are worse now than ever, etc., etc." And I said, "Well, actually, when you look at it on like a historical basis, we've probably had, other than the pandemic, which agreed everyone was crap, no one's going to try to tell you that was good, but when you consider everything we've got and all the advantages we have now, we're living at one of the best times in history. So if you think it's crap now, it was even crapper back in the past." So the idea is to just sort of also to show that the world is getting better. And yeah, at the moment, things are looking a bit grim. There's some bad stuff happening. But I always say, and I may have even said this in the last podcast, so forgive me if I did, but it's a bit like the stock market. There's highs and lows, but it's always on a bit of an uptick. Yep. So right now we're in a bit of a trough, but it'll uptick again eventually. Pardon me, that's a coffee first thing in the morning. And it'll eventually, we'll continue upticking. And I kind of wanted to tap into the idea that, things aren't as bad as people are thinking. When everyone talks negatively all the time, it just tends to, drive everyone else's negativity. So it's just trying to sort of get into the people in a more positive mindset as well. I don't know if that works, but that's certainly my hope.
Yeah. Speaking of podcasts, since we last spoke, have you launched your own podcast?
Yeah. A friend of mine, CJ, and I, we've launched a podcast. It's called What's My Age Again? And it's actually about for people over 50, basically. The idea is we're looking at so many of us, CJ and I are talking, we're sort of saying, well, we're both in our 50s. I'm not that far away from 60. And I don't feel at all like that. And lots of people I spoke to didn't feel their age. And we've sort of got to talking about it. And we did a little bit of research and found that, in fact, that's a real phenomenon, that if you're anything over about 25, you feel younger than your years. That's how humans are usually. There are exceptions to that, but usually people feel younger. If you're 25, you feel your age. So people who are around their sort of mid-20s, that's the age of people, they will feel that age. And if you're younger, you feel like you're older or feel like you want to be older. So so we started dicking around with that idea and started the podcast around it. And we're just working on our 4th episode the other night, and it's going all right. I wouldn't say we're setting the world on fire, but it's interesting, a bit of a diversion. Yeah, I'm enjoying doing it, and we did an episode, the one that's going to come out soon. We were talking about sort of paleo diet kind of things, and CJ had done some research and found that we're not into that kind of stuff particularly, but he was just looking into it out of interest and found that there's actually some research that supports the fact that, like, if you're younger than 40, that a paleo diet is quite useless, but over 40, in fact, it apparently can be quite good for you. And now neither of us are planning to go on a paleo diet. I mean, we both drink beer for a start, so that tends to knock that out of the thing. But it was just interesting to see that, because I mean, I used to think the paleo diet thing was a bit of BS, but apparently the research says not necessarily. So, and it actually has a positive effect on your aging, which is how it comes back to what's my age again, because it actually, in theory, that it could help your sort of slow down the aging process.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah. Stop drinking beer, start eating lots of meat.
I believe in the power of positive drinking. You've sent us an advanced copy of the second installment of Lightbulb Moments in History, Peasants to Periwigs. Tell us about this. Yeah. How far along are you with this? Is this like another one that's going to be a year? We're going to wait for the publication?
Well, it was accepted for publication in December.
Okay.
And it's being typeset right now. I imagine I don't have a ETA yet, but given that the way it worked last time, I imagine it could be out. I was hoping to have it out for Christmas. Was my hope, but I don't know that it will be. It might be a January thing, but we'll see. I'd certainly love to get it out for Christmas. It would be insane not to, but that's just how it seems to work. So
it looks like it's one of those books that would make a great Christmas gift, I think, as well.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Do you plan on bringing I know that this sort of brings the age forward. You move into sort of the Industrial Revolution type of era, going from the Black Ages. Do you plan on moving up to present time with a series of these?
That's the plan. At the moment, it's looking like it'll be 4 or 5 books, depending how I go and how I deal with certain things. Because the thing is that, like, the first book deals with probably 10 million years of history. Yeah. The second book deals with 1,000 years of history, because we're, this collective learning where people, they learn more, they keep the learning they've got, plus they learn extra. That just grows and grows. It snowballs. So we're getting. I think the next one, the one after the one you just talked about, is going to be called Revolution to Evolution. And that's going to go from like the French and American revolutions up to Darwin. So that's going to be less than 100 years. So I think I probably got 2 books just in the 20th century because of the advances that happened then. Like, we went from my grandmother was born in 1895, back when there weren't any cars. Particularly, there were cars around, but no one had one. Yeah. She died after man had landed on the moon. And everything in between had happened. Like humans had learned to fly. We'd had 2 world wars with, planes taking a major role in it. And we shot people to the moon all in her lifetime.
Yeah. The time period is shortening in between these sort of life-changing innovations. We went sort of 500 years, and then, within now, isn't it technology sort of doubling every 5 years?
Yeah. Well, it's actually... Now it's doubling. I think in fact, it's in my most recent book. I should know this, but it was doubling in the 19th century. Around the sort of 1500s to the 19th century, it was doubling every 100 years, and then it started to get faster. Now it's doubling every 17 minutes. The entire volume of human knowledge is doubling every 17 minutes. That might not be all great knowledge, it might be all the BS on the internet, but that's how things are doubling. That's how it's exponential. So it's pretty incredible. You only got to see in your own lifetime. I mean, I started off playing, when I was playing records, I'd be playing 45s and 33 1/3 vinyl albums, and then we went to CD, and CDs went around too much for a very long time before suddenly we were all playing MP3s or whatever, and then now we're downloading it off the cloud. I mean, who knows what's happening next? But it's happened so quickly. In my lifetime, it changed so much. And when I was a teacher, I used to be a printer. And when I came to the family printing business, we were printing the same way my grandfather was printing back in the sort of early 20th century.
Yeah.
And all the innovations, by the time I left, it was digital printing, and it was this and it was that. And it had changed about 3 times before it had basically become something that wasn't even viable anymore because of all the changes. So, I mean, that sounds down. That sounds like a downer, and it is a downer for the people who are going through that. I mean, I've been in an industry where it just disappeared because of technology, but also I think that there are positives to that too. So hopefully we just eventually find the positives. But for the people whose jobs disappear, not much positivity in it for them, I've got to say, which is why so many people are annoyed.
Yeah, there's certain bits of technology. It's been negative aspect to it, hasn't it? Like things like, I can't think of anything. Maybe those old mini discs you used to have. They were only around a very short span of time before they disappeared. And there's obviously lots of stuff like that which has affected people's businesses. But yeah, in the main, you bang on. I can remember records and 33s, 45s being around forever, and then
they're coming back, aren't they, as well?
They are.
That's true.
CDs were like, were there 1 minute and gone the next almost, wasn't it? You know, and we were into MP3s and then moving on into the cloud. Yeah. So that seems.
But we're basically in a new industrial revolution, and we are. In fact, it's Industrial Revolution 4.0, I think they call it. And back in the original Industrial Revolution, there were all these upset people who were, destroying machines and everything because it was destroying their livelihoods. Yeah. Well, that's where we are now. We're going through a painful time where people's livelihoods are being disrupted. You've only got to see all the disaffected people in America who were all used to be coal miners, and that's all going. And they've lost their jobs, and you feel sorry for them because they're not going to get those jobs back. And there are disingenuous people who are telling them, "No, but I can give you your job back." But that ship has sailed. They're not going to start doing coal again. That once it becomes more profitable for businesses to use renewable energy, they'll do that. They won't care. As soon as that flips over, and those people have become collateral damage. And it's a matter of how we're going to look after those people. I don't think they're being looked after now. And I think we need to find a way to make sure that those people who are affected by all these changes can be accommodated and made not to feel like they're useless.
Yeah, on the flip side, as such, we've got the current government almost saying they're introducing coal mines again because of the energy crisis. So we're actually taking a step back, and that's getting criticised because they're going, well, 1 minute you want us to, be smokeless free and all the rest of it, and then you're advocating going back to coal. So come on, do what's the right thing to do. So it is all a bit backwards. Terry, did you see that in the press not long ago as well?
Yeah, it was. Well, we know the Thatcher years, the traditional areas that relied on coal mining, the whole areas were shut down when the mines closed, and people didn't have an alternative occupation. So there's mass unemployment, and that was sort of defended against by, well, it's a dirty occupation, pollutes the atmosphere, it damages the planet, and with moving back, it is definitely a backward step. But they would argue that because of the oil crisis, because of the price of energy now, for us to produce it at home would save customers money. But it doesn't make sense, really. There's no logic to it.
No, I think eventually one of the big ideas I'm going to be looking at in one of my future books, probably the last one, would be universal basic income.
Aye.
Because I think that's the only thing with AI and with technology taking everything, we're going to have millions of people without gainful employment or without any way of supporting themselves unless we can find a way of looking after them. So we need to give people a purpose, and we need to give people a living.
Yeah,
somehow. I'm not saying I know how to do it, but what I am saying is it's going to be. You can imagine millions and millions and millions of people without jobs who can't afford to, make ends meet. That's not a recipe for a good thing.
No, it's not, is it? It's quite scary in some some respects. Really is.
Yeah.
Moving on your website, you mentioned that you gave up connecting with literary agents, and you were lucky enough to connect with John Hunt Publishers within a month of submissions. Did you send them your full manuscripts, and did it all happen really quickly like that? Because it's quite
It did.
surprising from
Yeah.
what we listen to other authors.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, it did. And I was sort of, I think I just decided after like 40 or 50 rejections that wasn't going to work. I don't think I had what the agents were looking for, whatever that might be, but whatever it was, I didn't have it, and I needed to. If I was going to get it out there, I was either going to self-publish or I was going to try something else. And I tried something else before I self-published, but I was happy to self-publish, and there's nothing wrong with self-publishing at all. I'm not a snob about that. It's more I didn't want to have to do every single thing in getting it out there. And as it is, I've done an awful lot. But even so, I didn't want to have to do what it took to get it into all the places. Like, I mean, CJ, the guy I do the podcast with, he's a writer and he self-publishes. And when I see the things he has to do to get it into Amazon and all that, and the problems he has with various things and ISBNs and various dramas he's having, it's like, well, I'll let someone else deal with that. Thanks, that's good. But yes, I was very lucky, I think, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
You've got a background in the publishing industry. Did you design the covers?
I did. Yeah. That's one of my things.
They stand out,
and it was.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. So the last one, because the first one I was just using stock photography things, like old actual old graphics and things that were done at the time, or done in the 19th century probably. But the second one, I did it using AI artwork generation. So I'd gone to there's a place called midjourney.com, and you can dial it. If I want a picture of Caesar, doing the thumbs up and winking or something, I put that in there, and then it creates it. And so what I did, it wasn't all done in one picture. I made a picture of every individual person, and then I sort of assembled it in the old-fashioned sort of Photoshop sort of way. Yeah. But the first one, they were all pictures that I was able to buy through stock photography, whereas this last one, I just created them all just by online. Even the little boy. I didn't want to use the same picture of the boy with the light in his head. You can see over Terry's shoulder. Yeah. I didn't want to use that same picture. So what I did was I made a new one of him, and basically just by Victorian boy wearing a top hat, giving a peace sign or whatever, because I wanted two for the second book, and that's what I got.
You got any plans for audio versions of these? Because you have Kindle and paperback on Amazon, haven't you? I know people who've gone into audio version have been successful, and some people not so successful. Any plans for you?
Well, there are plans afoot. I may have told you this last time, so if I have, I'm sorry. But John Hunt Publishing has the rights to do an audio book, but they will decide on sales whether they are going to do that. And if they don't decide within 6 months that they're going to do it, then it will revert to me. And if it reverts to me, then I'll definitely do an audio book. Not quite sure how I'll do it yet, but I don't want to think that far ahead. I'm hoping it'll be successful enough that they'll want to do it, and then I don't have to think about it too much.
Decent microphone on the desk there, Scott.
That's true. I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the plans. I actually got that. Well, I got it during the pandemic because I was doing online teaching. Yeah. But I also had a bit of a thought that it might be something if I did an audio book, I might do it that way. The problem is, of course, I mean, it's one thing to do a podcast like I do, and it's another thing to talk to you guys. But in an audio book, I'll pick up all the background sounds. Like you probably can't hear it loudly now, but if you listen to an audio book, you'd hear some, sort of people driving their cars out of the garage, first thing in the morning going to work and that kind of stuff, slamming doors. Yeah. You can't have that. So I'd have to either build myself a little sort of recording booth or hire one. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. Like I said, I don't really want to think about it too much.
Okay. Scott, we've connected on Twitter. Are you using any other social media for promotions? Are you using TikTok?
Oh, I'm not using social media. Oh, God, yes.
Sick of it.
too bloody much social media. Like YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel,
Yep.
which basically is just I put up my book trailers. I keep them at a whole lot of book trailers. You showed us a few last time. Well, I've done a few more since then.
Okay, I'll use them.
Yeah, I've got Instagram now. I probably didn't have Instagram much when I talked to you the first time. I've definitely TikTok, or like I said, I think we may have talked this last time, but I don't do little dances or anything like that. I just put videos up there. It doesn't appear to work very wonderfully well for my genre. I think it's great if you're a romance author, but probably not so great for I'm not a historian. I'm not a historian. Historians are very sensible people, and they don't make fun of history too much. But yeah, no, I would feel embarrassed for people to sort of think I thought I was a historian. I'm pretty much a history nerd rather than anything else.
Yeah.
So I've got those things. I've got probably other stuff. What else? LinkedIn. It's so much. It's very hard to. I just basically all I do is make the same content and shove it in different places.
Yeah, I do that same. Yeah, Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, seems to be the way to go for most. I think that's it for now until there's a new fag comes out there or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, there'll be something else.
There will be in a few months, no doubt.
No doubt.
I mean, TikTok's not that old, really, is it? But it doesn't. No. I agree with you. I don't think it's the type of platform for your book, really. No. Just doesn't seem right. Yeah.
No. I just I don't get much engagement there. I've got 10,000 TikTok followers, but that really means nothing. It's just people just follow each other willy-nilly on there. And I don't think any of the people who follow me necessarily react particularly to my stuff. So it's almost useless, really. I mean, I put a lot of effort into building it up, but in fact, I don't think that was really worth the effort. But now it's there. I'll throw stuff on there, but I don't muck around with it very much. It's more of a, I don't know, if I make, like I said, if I make new content, I put it up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok usually, and then just see what happens.
Yeah. Do all your work, all your writing, do you do it in where you are now? Or have you got a separate room to do all that?
No, right here.
Place out the way?
No, well, this is out of the way for me a lot. 90, well, not 90% of the time, probably 50% of the time I'm living here alone anyway. So this is my living room, but it's just where I work. But I'm sure if I had lots of people around me, I'd find a little place hidden away. I don't need to, because this is hidden away. But the other week, my daughter's here, but she's nearly 17. She hangs in her room a lot, or she's out. So again, this place works. So it doesn't really matter to me. Here is where I work.
It looks comfortable. Tell us about the book itself. You've just launched the first book. What feedback are you getting from the publisher? Are you getting a particular country where sales are higher?
It's too early to say. It was really only launched. It was launched in the UK last Friday.
Do you know what I keep thinking? Because I looked at it 6 months ago. I've still got in my head that it's been out there, but it's only a couple of weeks ago, isn't it? Yeah.
The last Friday in the UK. It hasn't been. It's been launched in America and Australia next Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
In 2 days' time.
Oh, good luck.
So, in fact, was really no way of saying.
Yeah.
I had a little peek on. In fact, I'll have a look here if I can see. You can see what I won't do it because it'll take too long.
Okay.
But you can look on Amazon and see what not what your sales are, but where you are in the what number you are in the shop. And like last time I looked, I was number 500 in a certain genre.
That's pretty high. You've got 6 million titles on there. It also shows when the sales start going through which country, which market. You'll see the sales in Germany, in Japan, America, Europe. Yeah. It's a useful guide. But you need to have it out there, for 6 months, a year before you can use those statistics.
Yeah. So I'm basically just waiting to see. It's all too early to tell.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, what advice would you give to maybe your daughter or someone who's writing a book for the first time? What would you say to them if they were about to, they came to you and asked you?
Well, look, I'd say I would still, even now, I would still try to find an agent. And I think for me, eventually I'm hoping to build enough sort of social proof to be able to get an agent. I think that would still be useful, because it would allow me to approach bigger publishers. And even though I appreciate John Hunt's and everything, I think obviously there could be better deals out there and all that kind of stuff. It would be worth my while to have a look at it. So I would encourage people to still look for agents. I think particularly there are certain demographics where you're more likely to get an agent. I don't really want to say too much of the specifics there, but I don't think middle-aged white guys are people who agents are looking for. So, and that's fine. I accept that, and I'm not sort of bitter and twisted about it, because I'm got a book out there, so it's fine. But so I would encourage people to still try, but then at that point, you need to look at your options, and then it's changing all the time. I do think that the indie thing is massive, but it's also really hard to get found. So you'd have to come up with a really great marketing ploy. I mean, my friend CJ, he's got a couple of great books out there, and he's selling 2 and 3 a month because he's trying to do it himself as well as have quite a demanding job. So it's a lot of work if you're trying to do it yourself.
But for Scott, for now, I think time's caught up with us. But let's keep in touch, as we have been on Twitter, and maybe another one with the next book launch.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So that's it could be a year away. Who knows?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
We could all be dead by then, guys.
That's a real cheery thought, Scott.
Enjoy it while we can.
Go get yourself a second coffee of the day and cheer up a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. This one's empty.
Oh dear. All right, I've really enjoyed this. But for now, Scott, cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks. Been very interesting. Great.
Bye
Thanks.
now.